was raised in Hawaii, and my father was a competitive surfer. He moved from California when he was 18 to come to the mecca of surfing, which was Hawaii. Surfing being a Hawaiian sport of kings. I watched my father compete in surf contests and decided at a young age that I didn't want to participate in those kind of events, and that I just wanted to make surfing more of an artistic expression. Got bored with surfing and started windsurfing, and got excited about riding really big waves on windsurfers because we had the power. We could just go way out in the ocean and get on these waves really early and put ourselves in a really good position. Then one summer we had a little revelation. We were dragging each other around behind a boat on surfboards, and a light went off in our head, and we thought, oh, if we can drag ourselves onto little waves on surfboards with a boat, we could take ourselves onto some real big waves. And the one problem we were having with windsurfing was having a sail, so getting towed onto a wave was eliminated the sail and still gave you the power, so we had the best of both worlds, and thus was born tow surfing.
You so easily amuse, like a pantomime, such a silent crime. You so easily abuse, lack of confidence, it's your best offense. You so easily confuse, you can't deny it. Still you try to hide it. Faded, so faded, like a memory gone. There's no recollection. Faded, also faded, like a forgotten dream, further than it seems.
remember the first few times we were out there, I yanked Laird onto this wave. And this one particular day it was really, really big. And he's 6 feet 5 inches. He's huge. And this wave made him look like an ant. And I was just shaking my head at what was right behind him, knowing that if he did wipe out or his equipment did falter, he would get eaten alive. And that's when that so-called Jaws, that image Jaws came in. And I told him, you don't even want to know what was behind you. It was Jaws. It's the most perfect, top to bottom, barreling, deadliest right in the world. And not one other wave comes close.
Shades and lines frame the time. Sister, brother, cut to code, all alone, built up level. Lost your way back in there, cut off my prayers. Ocean wide, all went dry, reflection lethal. And if you ever have to leave, leave yourself outside the door. And if you ever have to leave this perfect world alone. Held upright, hands are tied, motion, sickness, breathing quiet all the time, sister, brother. Might happen overnight, each times like these I'm not surprised. And my hands an open knife, it carves creation's fire. And if you ever have to leave, leave yourself outside the door. And if you ever have to leave this perfect world alone. And if you ever have to leave, leave yourself outside the door. And if you ever have to leave this perfect world alone.
You come in contact with your own spirit through experiencing what the ocean has to offer. I think that's what touches all of us, is that feeling, that very pure and very free, conscious feeling of flight when you arrive there. You get to the point where you're thinking your way through your movements, and everything is secondary. Your body is secondary, your equipment is secondary. You're actually moving on terrain with your mind, and it's about as close to flying as you can get, I would think. And I think there's something in the spirit sense of being able to do that.
Every wave is the most purest form of energy. It travels halfway across the world to your particular reef, and you're sitting there. And you're one of the purest forms of energy that walk the earth. When those two energies combine, I celebrate that combination. Celebrate that in every turn. I celebrate it in every breath.
When a wave comes, the spray off of it goes 200-300 feet in the air. And if you keep watching that spray, it transcends into something else. There's hidden things in there.
If you see waves like what you saw here and you don't believe that there's something greater than we are, then you got some serious analyzing to do, and you should go sit under a big tree for a long period of time.
Piahi is the father of tow surfing. She's the mom, she's the pop. You find out how good of a surfer you really are when you go to Jaws. There's no shoulder riding at Jaws. It's in the pit the whole time. What Laird's doing now at Piahi is just physically the most awesome thing you've ever will witness, especially when you're right there in the water with him, to see how far he goes and how deep he goes and how powerful he is. It's almost as like he's as awesome as the wave. And I just love watching him under stress because he just handles, he trains for it, he eats for it, he does everything for that spot.
You leave part of yourself there, and when you see a wave with the power and the magnitude of these waves, you realize that lives have been lost there. Achievements of the greatest experiences have been made there. And that brings you a certain kind of peacefulness and appreciation and awe and respect that you don't find anywhere else.
Each of us alone could have ridden a few great waves, but together we have ridden so many of the greatest waves. And that teamwork and that camaraderie and that sharing of the experience is what life's all about. My friends have brought me places that I never thought I could go.
I'm more afraid of living than I am scared to die. I'm more afraid of falling than I am of flying high. Every moral has a story, and every story has an end. Every battle has its glory, and its consequence. I'm more afraid of loving than I am of being scorned. But I will keep on trying. Though I have been forewarned, every moral has its story, and every story has an end. Every battle has its glory, and its consequence, and its consequence.
What are you made out of? What challenges you? The spirit form that you are. What challenges you to make decisions, to do things that are beyond you?
rode that day and I made a few mistakes and I felt my age and I drew my line and said, this is not for me. So Laird hooked up and he had all this energy. And then there was this thing, this giant, massive, round hole that he was able to match. And he just happened to be in the right spot on the universe at the right time, matching power with power. And he's probably the only surfer in the whole world who could have made that wave.
What he did with that wave in Tahiti is like Dave Kalama said, you know, clearly the line has been drawn in the sand. There's only one set of footprints on the other side. I think it's important for people to understand that when they see him riding the waves that he rides, that if he falls, he will die. You know, this wave that he rode in Tahiti recently, he had no chance of surviving that. I'm almost positive of it. I think he would have been vaporized on the reef if he had fallen on that wave.
But to be there, to feel the energy, to see the naked reef, to see how high the wave was exploding, and see a human body conformed inside the vortex was just definitely a really hard act to follow. I mean, it drove him to drinking. He was on the wagon for 6 or 8 months, and then that day came along, and I remember he had a beer that night. Cried a whole bunch because we drew the line. That was it.
When you go past the levels that much, your perception of critical changes because you've been to such an extreme, but everything behind that doesn't seem as bad as it used to. And I think he experienced a, you know, physical, emotional, spiritual, in almost every sense, a whole new outlook on surfing, on life. You can tell something has changed from that experience because the way he approaches the wave now is, it's like he's looking at it through different eyes than the rest of us. Something's going on.
I've never seen anybody surf like that. In my 42 years of surfing, Laird is, to me, the best surfer in the world. The only time I've ever seen surfing like that done was in the early 70s when we used to go to surf movies and see that shit in cartoons. I don't think there's another human being in this world today that can surf like Laird. He's a freak. And going to be a long time before anybody can feel those boots.
The foil board is going to allow us to break the planing hull barrier and go to the next dimension, which is faster and not being affected by surface conditions, and also eliminating having to have the wave actually break. So now you're going to be able to get on things that you wouldn't normally be able to get on, and ultimately the objective is to ride the biggest swells that the ocean can create.
You need to have a dream. You have a dream and have hopes. And if you do, you'll be able to enjoy the ride of your life.
Laird's going to ride a bigger wave than anyone else. I mean, that's what he was born for. That's what his whole life has been geared for. I mean, that's what he's here for. I've known him since he was just a little f***. I wanted to drown him. He used to, we'd be surfing the pipeline, and back then there was, like where my house was, that was where he lived. There was a whole grove of coconut trees. They eventually all got washed away. But he'd lurk up there, hiding in those trees. And if you looked up there, you could see him, you know, kind of darting back and forth there. If somebody'd lose their board, they'd swim in. He'd run in, beat them to the beach, drag their board up and bury it in the sand and run back up the trees. And the guy'd come in. Where's my board? You know, you immediately think that, shit, it went out in the rips, and you dive back in and swim out. It's not out there. You come back in. Where's my board, you know? If you were lucky, he'd come and tell you where it was. Otherwise, he'd get it at the end of the day if you gave up. Usually you could figure it out, because back then there weren't too many footprints on the beach.
I look at Laird and it reminds me a little bit of Waterworld, you know. This guy he's metamorphosizing into this individual that is so focused on riding big waves that I kind of halfway want to go over and pick up his foot and look on the underneath side to see if he isn't developing suction cups, and take a close look behind his ears to see if there isn't gills, you know. It's like this guy is, you know, he's taking this to such a high bed stage.